Hey guys, Ezra here and welcome back to another Ezra review. And on today's video, I want to review this anime called Uzumaki, which is a junjiito adaptation of Uzumaki. And on this review, I want to focusing more on, I guess, comparing the anime to the manga, because I know that the main criticism about the anime is obviously the animation, which is, yeah, they are bad, but I feel like a lot of people already mentioned that on their reviews, and a lot of people already noticed that. So I thought I want to focus a bit more on like comparing the manga to the anime, because the manga did a way better job on telling the story of Uzumaki compares to the anime, in terms of the pacing and how everything was rushed. So yeah, obviously Uzumaki is been apparently it's been developed since 2019, which is like a really long time, and there is some problem with the in-house production, and I think there is a different directors for the future episodes. I think episode 1 has a different director, and so far it has like the best animation in the anime. At least it managed to capture the art style of junjiito, and how much disturbing his drawing were, on the manga. And pretty much when you get to episode 2, you get this like hilarious animation, where the characters just like running on the beach, and you guys can clearly see how bad the running animation was. And of course, let's not forget in episode 4, our main character Suichi, actually he falls down on the spiral staircase, and then there's just this like PNG images just like going down to the depth of the hole, essentially. And it becomes funny, and I feel like if you talk about the animation, then yeah, combining with the weird plot of Junji Ito, then like I feel like upon retrospective, then this anime will become funny instead of scary. And yeah, that's such a shame, because I think the manga does a great job for telling the story, even though it's only 20 chapters. So for this review, I have three examples, or I guess like three storyline that I want to compare here now. And I think for the first comparison, I want to talk about this one character named Azami, which you see on the first episodes of the anime. And from the get-go, the anime did something really wrong in my opinion, because it combines the plot point from chapter 1 and chapter 2, which is about Suichi's parent. In the manga, they're dying in the first two chapters, and in the anime, episode 1 basically combined like two different storylines, between Suichi's parents, where they see the Uzumaki, the spiral ride, and then you see Azami's characters, and because of that, they cut Azami's storyline like a lot. And one of the biggest differences is that the pacing in the manga was different, because like her storyline pretty much starts after Suichi's parent die, so you get some extra dialogue here between Azami and Suichi, and there is a scene in the manga, where it seems like Azami are obsessed with Suichi before even met him, because in this screenshot right here, you see that the dialogue is like Azami was like wanting to see Suichi, and then Kiria was like, okay, I guess we'll see him together, and it's definitely weirding her out, but we get to and again, the biggest changes in the anime is that Azami and Kiria basically met Suichi on the train station, and in the manga, they actually met inside their house, like in Suichi's house, and at this point, Suichi's parents already die, and that's like becoming like, I guess, like the alibi for them to visit a Suichi, and yeah, this is where Suichi realized that, oh, like there is some dangerous Uzumaki aura from from Azami, and that's where Azami actually is surprised by that, because Azami was actually liked by pretty much everyone, because not only the boys like her, but also like some adults that's also like her, and in the anime that was never referenced at all. You get to see several boys like looking at her, and it was told that Azami was a popular girl, but I feel like the anime there's a lot of like telling but not showing, and yeah, that's obviously bad. And there is this one, again, very crucial scenes in the story here where Azami later revisits Suichi in his house again. In the anime, they just met in the street. Randomly they just like stumble upon each other. And in the manga, it's like she actually visit Suichi's house again. And it just like pretty much reinforcing the fact that she is becoming super obsessed with Suichi here. And then he also told Azami that like her scars in her forehead becoming an Uzumaki, which I think in the anime he explained that, but it was like super rushed, and this next panel in the manga was actually wow. It really surprised me because it was shows that Azami basically convinced her parents to, hey, like they need to rent an apartment near Suichi's house, because Azami becomes super obsessed with Suichi, as you can see in the screenshot right here in the manga, where the dialogue goes, like, please, I never felt this way before. All the boys I knew couldn't stop thinking about me, but I know what it feels like, like I can't stop thinking about you, and that is a great moment for the characters, because for the first time she fell in love with a boy, and she actually understand how all these boys are feeling, because so far she only received love, but never like like never actually fall in love with someone else, and then Suichi for the first time actually becoming Azami first love, you could say that, I mean, technically she has like a crush on her childhood, but like, well, this is the first time where she actually felt a huge crush on a boy before. And yeah, like she pretty much for the first time fell in love with Suichi, and there is also some extra scene in the manga where Kiria and Azami actually has a conversation, and Kiria actually asks Azami nicely, like, hey, can you please not hang around, Suichi, because like, he's my boyfriend, because obviously Suichi is also disturbed by Azami's behavior, and then Azami literally yelled at Kiria, like I won't, I like him too. I'll make him care about me, and it becomes this like drama between Kiria and Azami, kind of, and yeah, the anime pretty much cut all of this scene from the manga, and I think it's such a huge mistake, and it seems like they just like rushing the plot point, because in the manga there is a bit more context to the story, and you could actually understand like the disturbing of Azami's characters, because he became super obsessed with Suichi to the point that, yeah, like she just won't leave him alone, and obviously Azami's character is like the most famous character from the Uzumaki manga, because you've seen this image before, where you see like her head, like the spiral in her head, like that is the most famous image from the manga, and I think the first episode managed to convey that animation really, really well, but they do miss the for building up the story between Azami and Suichi, and even when they get to the park, it feels like it was really, really rushed to the point that it feels like they don't let it breathe, because they're doing way too much in the anime, and again, this is just the first example. They cut the most crucial stuff about Azami's character, in my opinion. It was insinuated in the anime, but again, it's just like telling the audience, but not necessarily showing the behavior of Azami. They cut that part out, and it just like, yeah, it just becomes like, I don't know, like if it becomes underdeveloped, and yeah, it's just like, yeah, it's kind of disappointing the way they handle the story, because I feel like Junjiito tell this story on one chapter, only on one chapter, I guess it's a pretty long chapter, sure, but like again, he didn't like build up this storyline for like 10 chapters, and then there's like another 10 chapters where everything goes down. You're like, no, it's not like that. It's just like it happens on one single chapter, and the anime just like, yeah, let's just rush everything, and just completely missing the building up of the atmosphere of the manga, even though that the episode 1 animation was actually in my opinion is great, but I do think this problem again, like, it exists since the very first episode of the anime, that they just don't know how to pace the story that well, and they just like rush things, and anyway, getting to the second example here from episode 2 of the anime, where you got introduced to these new characters named um, Yoriko, and I think one of the guys named Kazunori, and their introduction in the manga was a bit more different, because one day Kira just like walking home, and then like she saw Kazunori and Yoriko here, where they're being separated by their parents and relative, essentially, and this has pretty much become the first introduction with Kiria and Kazunori, and yeah, I think it's a pretty cool introduction. It's a pretty tragic introduction, because I think Kazunori and Yoriko's storyline is basically Romeo and Juliet, and then this time mixed with the weirdness of Junjiito, you know. But I feel like the introduction in the manga was actually it's a good introduction, you know, because you are immediately introduced to the conflict of the story, you know. In the anime, they got introduced where they just like staying in their in an abandoned house, you know, and you get the feeling that they may be hiding from something, you know. But I feel like it's just a different introduction that it eventually lead to the same scene from the manga, you know. So like they kind of like changed the pacing a bit, you know. But I feel like the anime also changed the context of the story, you know, because let me explain, you know, after this encounter in the manga, you know, after Kire found out that, oh, Kazunori plans to, I guess, like live together with Yoriko, you know, because like they both fall in love, you know. And he also explained that their family live on the same row house, you know. They live on the opposite end, you know. But their parents are, you know, hating on each other, you know. And after that, you know, basically Kire visit Kazunori's house again. This scene was not in the anime, you know. And we get another context here where you get to see the parents are actually yelling at each other, you know, because they live on the same row house, you know, so they can basically hear them from the wall, you know, because they just like yelling at each other. And it feels like, you know, this scene was actually important in their storyline because again, it shows the parents conflict with one another, you know. In the anime, again, they just told us there is a conflict with the parents, but we barely see the parents, you know. And then we barely see Kazunori and Yoriko as a characters, you know, because in the manga, Junji Ito dedicated the entire storyline, you know, like every single chapter has a different storyline, but Junji Ito is always focusing on one set storyline. But the anime, just like the previous example, combining several plot elements, you know, and it doesn't really work in my opinion. It's like there is a scene in the anime where Kira has this like Medusa hair, you know, like the Uzumaki hair. That is also some snail people, I think, which is just like disturbing, of course. But again, like too many things happen in the animes, and they don't give us enough time to focus on one of the story, and it's just like missing the atmosphere, the build up, and the context, you know. And like you see in the screenshot right here, you see the parents fighting, you know, and it was completely missing in the anime, you know. And it was also shown that how crazy the parents were, you know, even though that the kid, you know, Kazunori and Yoriko basically just, again, they just fall in love with each other, you know. They just want to basically be lovers, you know, and that's it. And they just want to be left alone on their own, you know. And it's like, yeah, like you can see the conflict here again, you know, where Kazunori actually yelling at his parents, you know, like, dude, like, can you guys please stop fighting, you know, because don't you understand, I love Yoriko, you know. And then, you know, Kazunori and Yoriko basically try to meet each other again, you know, and then their parents, both of their parents, grab their own kid, you know, and basically again, and basically stopping them from seeing each other, you know. And it's just like, again, it's a really sad story, you know. And yeah, I think the manga again took their time to tell this storyline, and I feel like I gotta praise Junji Ito here, where he manages to tell a storyline where he managed to tell like a complete story in a single chapter, while the anime can't do that because there's just too many things happening here, you know. And the manga also shows some extra scene where the parents are again fighting each other, you know. And there's also this like really unhinged scene, you know, where Kiria basically go to their house, you know. She saw the parents fighting, and then you see the mother was like, oh my god, like Kazunari has been seduced by that girl again. Like the mothers are really crazy because like they think that their children are seducing each other, you know. They fail to recognize that it's just love, you know, it's just what love is, you know. And they just don't know how to process that, to the point that they just like becoming super aggressive and let's find them, you know. And then we get to see the scene from the anime here, and like I said before, the context in the manga are actually different because they are running away from their parents, you know. And in this one, the scene actually felt much more meaningful because again, we already shown how much the parents and the family hated each other, you know. They show us that a couple of times in the manga. So by the time you get to this scene right here where we get to see Kazunori and Yoriko alone in a house together, calm, you know, and then there is no more fighting, you know, like it's different, you know. Like the atmosphere was actually different because you understand the situation that they are actually running away from their parents, you know, because you already saw how crazy the parents was, you know, in the manga. You know, in the anime, you barely see the parents, so you don't get the sense that this is like supposed to be the calming moment between Kazunori and Yoriko, you know, and it feels like they just like changing the context of the story, and I don't like that, you know. And we get to see the obviously the snake, you know, like basically wrapping around each other, you know. You see that in the anime, you know. And there is also another notable differences here is that we get to see Kazunori and Yoriko basically swore to each other that we will be together forever no matter what, you know. And Kiria actually find them because again the pacing in the manga was actually a bit different here, so the context of the scene was actually also different for Kiria's character, you know. And basically the parents finding Kazunori and Yoriko again, you know. They punch Kazunori again, and they basically decide, hey, like take Yoriko away from Kazunori, you know. And then in the manga we actually see Kazunori's body twisting, you know. So it was basically teased in the manga that, oh, like this guy basically already got affected by the spiral, you know, by the Uzumaki, you know. And this scene was completely missing in the anime because of course, you know. And after that, you know, you get to the beach scenes, you know, pretty much the same way in the anime, you know. But I feel like in the anime you get obviously you get some bad animation, you know, but I feel like the scene itself in the end, even it becomes much more meaningful thanks to the way Junjiito told the story, you know, because it actually shows the conflict, you know, for how Kazunori and Yoriko actually felt, you know. And in the anime they just brush that away, you know. And I feel like that's like I'm gonna say that a lot, you know, where the anime just like rushes things, you know, for the story, you know, because it did, you know. And I feel like it does changes the context of the story, and it feels like to me this storyline become less meaningful, you know, unlike in the manga where it actually felt like this is just Junjiito doing a Romeo and Juliet storyline, you know, in a messed up way, you know, in a Junjiito way essentially, you know. And in the anime you don't get that sense at all, you know, because you don't show the conflict between the parents, you know. And I think it's just like a huge mistake in my opinion, you know. And getting to the second to the third example, the final example that I want to get into is that this one storyline named Jack in the Box in the manga, you know, where we get to see we get to meet one character named Mitsuru Yamaguchi, you know. You saw him in episode 2, I think, which again completely combining all the episodes together. Like for comparison, like all this example that I give you guys, you know, like all this happened on a very individual chapter, and in the anime you get to see this like 3 or 4 individual story arcs just like mashing together in one episode, you know. And it's just a huge mistake because too many things happen, you know. I feel like people can't exactly keep up with the storyline because everything was so crazy, you know. And again, getting to the third example here, we get to see Yamaguchi's character, you know. And I feel like in the manga there is an extra dialogue where he actually insulted Suichi, you know, because I don't think in the anime he even mentioned Suichi at all, you know. Like it was mentioned that Kiria already has a boyfriend. What are you doing, you know? But it's like, no, I'm not gonna give up, Kiria, you know. You turn on me eventually, you know. Like it happens in the manga, you know. But in the manga they actually show again some extra scene, you know, where, or I guess like a montage where he just keep yelling, you know, I love you, Kiria, you know, please come out, Kiria, you know, I wish my hands could reach into your room. It's just like a really weird guy, you know, just keeps stalking Kiria, you know. And in the anime it happens on the cemetery. That's like the first time you meet Yamaguchi's character, you know. And in the manga you actually see him before that in the school, where again he basically stalked Kiria in the school to the point that you get to see Kiria actually try to ran away from Yamaguchi, you know. And he even Kiria was actually felt worried there, you know. And it's like, yeah, because he was so annoyed by him, you know. And of course mixed with the montage that was showing the scene, you know, it's just like, yeah, it gives more context on Yamaguchi's character, you know. In the anime you just know that he likes to jump scare people and he likes Kiria, you know, but you don't get the sense that he's basically just an annoying teenager that was super obsessed with Kiria. You don't get to feel that in the anime, you know. And in the manga, oh, Junjiito just make that super clear, you know. And after this montage, you know, you get to see the exact same scene from the anime, you know, where, you know, like Yamaguchi give him a gift, you know, to Kiria, you know. And then obviously it was Jack in the Box, I think that's the gift, you know. And then he just jumps into a front of the car, and that's how he got killed. It happens in the anime. But which, by the way, I think Yamaguchi's character are an absolute idiot. Because I don't know why he decided to jump in front of the car. I'm assuming that the Uzumaki also maybe got him. That's why he was acting so stupid. In the manga and in the anime. Like, why would you jump in front of the car? Like, why? Like, what's that going to prove to Kiria? Like, her life is going to stop the car? Like, what is wrong with you? Like, you were super weird, man. But again, in the manga, he was extra weird. He was stalking Kiria multiple times. After he dies, like, Kiria basically bring the gift, the gift that Yamaguchi had, and then she decided to open the gift, and then you get to see the Jack in the Box popping up, and the Jack in the Box actually came to life, become zombified, have this scary face. And then Jack in the Box actually talked to Kiria, where he says, he died for you, didn't he? And now he'll come back for you. And so like, Jack in the Box actually feels like alive. Like, he actually talked to Kiria. Unlike in the anime where they just like half-assly reference that where the gift was actually still in Yamaguchi's hand, where she got basically he got stuck in the car, he died in the car basically, and then you see the gift just like opening up, and you get to see the Jack in the Box where it transformed into a scary face, just like in the manga. But again, in the manga, the context of the scene was different because Kiria actually brought the gifts home because she felt guilty to Yamaguchi. It wasn't like in the anime where it's just like bursting off, where it's like, oh yeah, he died a horrible death in a car, that was so terrible. But there is no scene where the Jack in the Box actually came to life and actually talking to Kiria and give her a warning about what's going to happen to Yamaguchi. Obviously, you never seen that at all. They just like reference that, or where the Jack in the Box becomes like a scary face, where it's like, oh, look at that, guys, we did the things from the manga, isn't that awesome? Like, no, it's not awesome because you're completely missing the context and again the building up of the story. And I feel like the manga managed to have like a much better atmosphere overall, because of these extra scenes. And after this, Suichi and again Kiria basically goes to the cemetery to finish off Yamaguchi, because obviously at this point they know that the Uzumaki is real, like something weird is happening in this town. So obviously when the Jack in the Box came to life and give a warning to Kiria, then obviously they both believe, where yeah, Yamaguchi is going to come back, eventually. And they get to the cemetery, digging open his grave, and you get to see this scary face popping up from the coffin, and it is obviously Yamaguchi came back to life, where he just came out of the grave and eventually chasing Kiria and Suichi around. He basically just like jumping up and down, because there is a car suspension or something that was like still stuck in his body, which it happens in the anime, but I feel like the way the anime handled it was actually really different. And again, the art style in the manga was actually terrifying. I mean, look at this, guys, in the screenshot. Like, his Yamaguchi is actually terrifying, and especially the way the scene actually took place in a cemetery on nighttime. And again, it's working because it was focusing only on Yamaguchi. There is a beginning, the middle, the end. Just like all the example from my previous example, where there's a beginning, middle, and end. There's a clear story to told here. And in the anime, this might be the worst way they handle Yamaguchi's character, because he just randomly came back in episode 3, where there is like a thunderstorm happening outside the house, and there is like a creature that was also going out from the house, which again from another storyline later on in the manga, and Yamaguchi's character just like pop up, out of nowhere, and just like, hey guys, remember me, the kid that died in episode 2, I'm willing to bet that most people probably forget about Yamaguchi's character and probably just surprised that he just pops up in the end of episode 3. I was surprised when I see him again in episode 3, because I thought that, oh, like they combining the story, so obviously that he's gonna combine the story between Yamaguchi's and this new storyline that was happening inside the abandoned house, I get that, but I think the way they handle that is the worst possible way, because Yamaguchi was barely built as a character in episode 2, cutting to the fact that there is so many things happening on each episode, and then he just randomly came back like a really bad jump scare in episode 3, where he's just like, hey guys, remember me, Yamaguchi that dies in episode 2? Like, yeah, I'm back now. And then she just like falls down, like her body just like fail and just falls down, and then that's it. Like in the manga, there is a chase scene between Yamaguchi and Suichi and Kirie, and it becomes terrifying because of the Jack-in-the-Box warning that Yamaguchi is going to kill both of them, and in the anime there is no Jack-in-the-Box like giving a warning, and there is just nothing, there is no momentum in the storyline, so like by the time he appears again in episode 3, it was really weird, because I was like, what's the point? It's almost like they just put it there because it happens in the manga, so like we have to put him in the anime because of course, but it's like, again, you're completely missing the context and the atmosphere of the manga. The anime was not scary because everything was rushed and everything was like molded together in one singular episode, to the point that you can't exactly focus on one individual storyline. While Junjiito actually managed to tell a clear beginning, middle, and end. Like each chapter felt like a short story, and they were finished. They were actually built, and they were actually scary. And again, it has a great finish to the story. And then before they move on to the next chapter, and it feels like the anime just like completely failed to do that. And it's just like, yeah, super disappointing in my opinion. Anyway, this comparison is like super long, guys. I apologize, but again, I want to to showcase like the huge differences between the manga and the anime, and why these anime are actually failing, and not just because of the animation, because I know people criticize about the animation, so that's why I don't really mention that a lot, because, well, what's more to say? Like, the animation is bad, we all know that, but I think less people are talking about the comparison between the manga and the anime here. So hopefully from this video you guys understand how much frustrating the anime was, and how much simpler if they just like follow the guideline, the storyline exactly like in the manga. And I feel like the anime shouldn't be like 4 episodes long, because it was too short. It should have been 8 episodes or even 10 episodes, because I feel like you could reach those 8 to 10 episodes, if you actually took your time to actually tell a beginning and a middle and the end of the story, because every single chapter in Uzumaki felt like a short story until you get to the final arc, where it's basically just 7 chapters, which is like the longest story arc in the manga, but besides that, it's like, yeah, it's a bunch of short story compiled together, and it feels like the team behind the anime just wanting to finish this adaptation as soon as possible, and they don't really care that much about giving the scariness or the horror of Junjiito. It feels like if the animation was great, then yeah, people will praise the anime. Obviously, I will also praise it, for at least getting the style right, and I feel like they do headed to the right direction in terms of the style, especially on the first episodes. But I feel like in terms of how the storytelling goes, they just completely butchered that, because like it's just like super bloated, to the point that they just don't know how to finish a storyline, because they combine so many of them in one singular episode, and it's just like, yeah, it's a big mistake in my opinion, because you don't stay with the conflict of the story, and yeah, it was really disappointing. But yeah, I guess that's it for the video, guys, from the manga versus anime comparison here. There's 3 examples, like I said before, and yeah, I guess let me know, guys, in the comment section below, like, what do you guys think about this comparison right here? Does this make you guys hated the anime even more now, especially how you see that Junjiito managed to build a storyline, like a good storyline in one singular chapter, where the anime just like failed to do that? How do you guys feel about that? Because I'm pissed off, man, seeing this comparison here. Do you guys have your own comparison from the manga and anime, that I will absolutely miss, because if I compare every single thing, that this video will be too long, and I don't want that, I just want to give like the biggest example that I can come up with my mind here that really bothers me in the anime and the manga, which is like these 3 example here, but if you guys have more comparison, then yes, you guys can feel free to share your comparison in the comment section below. I would love to read them, because again, there is a lot of them that you can put in the comparison right here, and you guys agree with my point in the videos, you know. Again, like, share your opinions in the comment section below, guys, you know. And again, if you guys enjoy this video right here, you know, make sure, guys, you know, spiral that subscribe and like button, guys, you know. Share videos, do your stuff, you know. And again, stay tuned for more videos in the future, and I hope you guys enjoy this video or this comparison, you know. And I will see you guys in the next one then. Bye.